Speaking of the Super Bowl, Tom Brady's legacy has always been a topic of debate, having so much success on the field, but it hasn't come without controversy. Take a listen to what he said yesterday about his legacy at Media Day.
I really don't, because that was never the reason why I ever wanted to play this game, is to be the best. I mean, that wasn't why I play football. I play football because I just love playing and with my teammates. I think the most important thing for me is to doing the very best that I can every time I take the field. I'm very fortunate to be on this team, and we've had so many great opportunities to be in this game. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I've had 7 chances at. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I know that winning the game is a hell of a lot better than losing this game, because I've had some of the longest nights of my life after these losses, and, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it's a win.
According to a new poll taken last week and released Monday by Public Policy Polling, Brady is clearly the most polarizing quarterback in the league. Listen to this. So Brady's the most popular quarterback amongst fans, 22%. We're a little fickle here, people, but he's also the least popular, 24%. Also, the New England Patriots were voted the most disliked team in the NFL. And I found a friend. Look who's here, Will Kane.
I'm glad somebody could keep you company
Thank
today.
you, and it's always good to see you. Thank you, thank you. I want to start with you, Stephen A., though. Why is Brady the most hated?
Well, he's a part of the New England Patriots, who are an organization perceived by some as cheaters. Certainly not me. I consider them winners, and my attitude has always been, hey, if they're so great at doing something and you got a problem with it, why can't you learn to emulate it? They're doing something right, and I'm going to give them credit where credit is due. 10 AFC championship games in the Tom Brady era, 7 Super Bowl appearances now, 4 Super Bowl titles. I'm sorry, give me a break. I don't want to hear that from anybody, but you have people who look at them, and they look at the organization under the stewardship of Bill Belichick, and they question their legitimacy because of Spygate, most recently Deflategate, et cetera, et cetera. That's point number one. Point number two, Brady's loyalty to Bill Belichick. Number three, because Bill Belichick, while some people might malign him, also recognizes greatness, they consider him a beneficiary of that greatness, because throughout your tenure, your entire NFL career, you've played for one man who happens to be the best. So they find themselves asking, what if you were in Aaron Rodgers' situation? What if you had played for several different coaches like Peyton Manning did, Tony Dungy and Jim Caldwell and John Fox and Gary Kubiak, and the list goes on and on. You've been in an ideal situation, so there's an excuse for people to question the legitimacy of Tom Brady. I do not, but it does explain where that quote-unquote hatred comes from, because that's usually where it breeds from, to be quite honest with you, when people are able to point to those kind of things to find a way to diminish the greatness that you put on display.
I think all those things are legitimate, and they feed into it, but if you ask why are people hating on Tom Brady, what's the big picture? And Stephen A., this will surprise you, but the reason is simply he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time, and heavy lies the head that wears the crown. That's how it goes. When you are the greatest ever and you are still active, people hate. But a lot of people love, too. That's why he's supposedly polarizing. I mean, the cheating and everything's Spygate, Deflategate, and the fact that he's associated with the Patriots, just the branding isn't good for him, of course. But you know what I noticed? When Peyton Manning was still playing not that long ago and before the real decline, where he was clearly not under pressure, which is why Brady's greater, but in every other instance, regular season, let's call him the greatest regular season player ever, Peyton Manning. By far, like, it wasn't close. No one around the league in the regular season be like, yeah, Brady's better than Peyton, because he wasn't in the regular season. He gets that extra credit for the playoffs, and that's a lot Belichick, and that goes to your point. But when Peyton was on top, I didn't notice this kind of hate for Brady, because I noticed a little more hating on Peyton, to tell you the truth, by many, because he was perceived as the best. Now Peyton's gone. There's, Aaron Rodgers is better, but he doesn't have the resume or anything like that. Brady is almost the undisputed greatest football player ever, certainly quarterback. Look at the resume. And so he attracts attention and therefore some hatred. People hate on the greatest. It happened to Michael Jordan. It happened to Muhammad Ali when they were still at their best. this is how it goes.
I don't know,
It's
Max.
actually a compliment to Brady.
Yeah, I don't remember any kind of hatred like this towards Michael Jordan. I don't remember any type of hatred like this towards Peyton Manning. I'm not saying it didn't exist, but certainly not to this extent. See, I think, honestly, both of you are addressing sort of the Christmas decorations on the Christmas tree. Yes, accusations of cheating feed into reasons that people might not like Brady. Certainly being a winner over a long period of time makes many people dislike you. But the truth is, they already disliked you by the time they got to those things. So here's what I think the honest truth is. People dislike Tom Brady because most of us down deep are very weak. Most of us are unsatisfied with our own failings in life, of our overinflated sense of what our own expectations were for ourselves. And Tom Brady reminds us of that. I don't mean to get too psychological or psychoanalytical here, but that's the God's honest truth. Tom Brady is a constant reminder of your own failings. He's got, as you've pointed out, Stephen A., he's got the perfect wife. He's got the money. He's a positive person. He's won, yes. Everything about him reminds you constantly, he's better than you. He's a better guy than you are. That is truthfully what, and by the way, here's the main problem. It's not just that he's great. It's how he's done it. It's that he's the 6th-round draft pick. It's that he's self-made greatness. That's the one form of greatness we can't forgive. We're fine setting up this incredible, athlete on a pedestal who we know down deep we could never have been. But this guy who tried hard against all odds, who wakes up early, who is a Nazi about his diet, who every choice he makes reinforces the bad choices that you make, the things you didn't do right today. Everything you didn't do right, Tom Brady did. He's a constant reminder, and his success is a constant reminder that you could have done better if you had simply done, I'm not saying you would have been a 4-time Super Bowl champion, but you could have done better if you made the same sacrifices Tom Brady did, and we cannot forgive you for that.
That's an interesting thought, and it's logically consistent. But I don't know that people look at Brady, and that's actually the process going on.
No, it's down deep, Max. It's down deep in the weakness. It's not rationalized. It's guttural.
I lost it. I don't know.
Right. It's intuitive. When people, it's the blink test. They blink and they don't like because it holds up a mirror to their own failings. I think it's an interesting point, but I don't know that it actually. And that may explain if you perceive him as more hated than Peyton Manning or some others, and you want to discount Deflategate and Spygate, and the Belichick influence, as Stephen A. pointed out, maybe you can point to that. I think the big picture is the best who ever did it, or the greatest of all time, when he's still on top. Because don't forget, he's also the most loved. Has this effect on people, usually in all sports.
Will Kane, I think you've been hanging out with Max a little bit too long. You're trying to go deeper than necessary. But it's understandable because Max can do that. Max can do that to people sometimes. Here's the deal. It's really not necessary to go that deep. I'll put it in more simplistic terms for you. The fact that you've had Belichick your entire career is enough of a reason for people to be envious of Tom Brady. Because what happens is you have the benefit of a great coach who's great with his system, that somehow, some way is able to maximize the potential of all those around him. And as a result, has elevated himself to such a level of greatness that when you find yourself not being the beneficiary of such components, it does vex you, because you find yourself literally looking at that situation and saying, I couldn't be that. If I had that coach, if I had that system, if I had those players, I couldn't pull that off. And I think they look at it from that perspective, not to mention the fact that at one point in time, people had such an affection for Tom Brady to such a degree, and to some degree they still do, that no matter what circumstances he found himself under, whether he was losing AFC championship games to Peyton Manning or being associated with Spygate or Deflategate or whatever the case may be, you have people that look at it and say, folks are eager to give him a pass that they wouldn't give to other people. Those are components that can't be ignored either, Will.
Yeah, but okay, so I'm not saying that you hold this. You're attributing that point of view to many people. It's a really dumb point of view if they hold that. It's really, really dumb because what it ignores is it makes Tom Brady into a system quarterback. It's been the beneficiary of Bill Belichick and his system, as though you could put anybody in that system and they would achieve the same level or at least some close to similar level of success. And it discounts all the things that Tom Brady does on a daily basis, not the miracle throw that Aaron Rodgers throws, but what he does on a daily basis that makes that system work. See, that's my point. People don't really like what it takes to be successful. They don't want to pass up the donut. They don't want to check their ego. They don't want to never be late to a meeting. They don't want to hold everybody accountable. So when they see someone do all that, they've got to explain it away as though that's just a system that's allowing that guy to do that. Well, contrary to what Max Kellerman constantly says, you put Aaron Rodgers in that system,
they'd be better.
I don't think he makes I don't think he makes all the same choices. I don't think he does all the same sacrifices that Brady does.
I think it's a good point to develop it or articulate it further. I could, if you want to call him a system quarterback, some of that system is kind of an adherence to a really puritanical work ethic, and that's part of the system that he's
yes.
Incorporated, right? And I think that's a good point. Nevertheless, people recognize, just as who is he overtaking as the greatest quarterback of all time? For many in the modern era, it's Joe Montana. And I think people recognize that as great as Joe Montana was, he was also lucky, much as I talked about Blink a little earlier, like Gladwell would write that, Bill Gates was lucky because circumstances favored what ended up really creating him and his legacy. And that Joe Montana was lucky to have Walsh, and that Brady was lucky to have Belichick, and there were other quarterbacks you could have, and this is, of course, ridiculous because this is not what happened, but you could have given to Walsh or Belichick who would have been even better, but they weren't, and so they're not. But I think people recognize, what if Walsh had Dan Marino? What if Belichick had Aaron Rodgers? I think most people would probably say Rodgers and Marino would be ahead of Brady and Montana. And so there's a sense, I think, rightfully, that they're somewhat lucky.
Well, my issue with what you're saying, more so than anything else, is you're acting as if it's applicable just to Tom Brady. Like when you talk about fans and whoever feels that way having a dumb opinion. Well, even though there's a lot of very, very smart fans out there, there are a few that are not. And they hold these opinions because of their fandom and their haterism, for lack of a better word, their willingness to go that route. But what you're saying is applicable to Tom Brady is applicable to most professional athletes, which is why they're under the microscope that they're under.
No.
Because people out there who want to hate on them look for any excuse. You act like there's some special circumstance that Tom Brady has to deal with. If there's resentment, it's because it isn't. And the whole, and which we will get into later on in the show, the whole Trump situation with Tom Brady not being probed about that is an example of that, where he doesn't have to go through what other athletes undoubtedly would have had to go through. So let's be clear about that.
But we've established that he's the most disliked quarterback in the NFL, has the highest negative approval rating. And what we're doing is trying to explain why that is. Now, this is my final point.
Also the highest
Max,
positive, Will.
That's
both.
right, because people like this, Max, are divisive. And here's my problem with your argument, Max, in the end. You give credit to a guy like Aaron Rodgers for the things he was born with, the arm talent he has, even his own work ethic. But you take away from Tom Brady the unique attributes that he brings. I don't doubt that Aaron Rodgers has a work ethic, but Tom Brady has an out-of-this-world work ethic.
He's the platonic ideal of a quarterback. I get it. In terms of that stuff.
That's what makes Tom Brady different.
And I'm here to tell you, I recognize those qualities in Tom Brady, including the locker room influence. And I'm here to tell you, including all that, Aaron Rodgers is better than him, and it's not hard to tell.
Set aside that debate. Can be had in the future, been had in the past. But what I'm telling you is Tom Brady's special attributes that make him the greatest quarterback of all time. His special attributes that have allowed him to win 4 Super Bowls and appear in 7. His special attributes are the ones you never see. They're the decisions he makes at 5:30 a.m. They're decisions he makes about what he puts in his mouth. And those are the decisions that people hate because they remind us, to bring this full circle, of the ones we haven't made.
I thought you never see them. Wait a minute, I thought you never see those decisions. Why do people hate them? They're not thinking about them.
You see him in the success.
You hear it written about.
You see him with the 7th trip to the Super Bowl.
It comes in when somebody calls him a system quarterback, Max. That's how you see it.
Guys, we got to leave it there.